And now, Mike's thoughts.
What is good, man, our nation, as we trek through the ways of the wonderful AFC South. We've already talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars. We've already talked about the Tennessee Titans. But today, we are going to talk about the one and the only, the Houston Texans. That's right. Today's show, we're going to break down each and every game for the Houston Texans. We're going to talk a little bit of off-season. We're going to talk a little bit about mid-season. We're going to talk a lot of Houston Texans today. But if you guys are new here, my name is Michael Buckheiser, and this is the only truly place where you get live, raw, and uncut NFL talk every Monday through Friday at 2:30 East Coast time right here at Facebook.com and, of course, YouTube.com. But if you are new here, consider subscribing to the channel, liking this, and sharing with a couple of friends. But, before we get into some Houston Texans talk, we have to talk about some news and some transactions that are going across the NFL landscape. We have to talk about some news that is coming out of Philly. And that is that Brandon Graham, legendary defensive end for the Philadelphia Eagles, said this is his final year. In a pressure today, right before or after the first training camp, first day of pads out there at Philly, he said, "I'm just out here soaking it all in because this is my final year." Paraphrased it, but that's basically what he said. So when we got to sit back, I got to think, I got to look at him doing some digging, and I'm like, man, Brandon Graham seems to have been there forever. Brandon Graham seems to have been with the Philadelphia Eagles forever, it seems. And he has. He got drafted by them in 2010. He has spent all of his NFL career going into his 15th year in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I got to be reading some stuff back from 2011, 2010, and people are like, oh, this guy's going to be a bust. This guy's going to be a bust. But then he started to turn it on, got some sacks, and became a staple of the Philadelphia Eagles defense. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, the reason why we're talking about this is I personally never had the opportunity to be like, this is my final year. I'm going to give it all, whatever. Do you guys in the chat here today, over here at Facebook.com and, of course, YouTube.com, do you guys think that putting a time limit on your season motivates you more or motivates you less? Now, I can say, because I coach high school ball, and I see a lot of seniors, right? They really don't grasp the idea like, hey, this could be the last time ever that I strap on the pads. Because, you do have those 5, 6, 8 kids that are going on to the next level, going on to college, to JUCO colleges, Division II, Division III, whatever, right? But you have those handful of guys that are just never really good enough to really make it, and they seem to kind of take it the hardest. So Brandon Graham has said this is his final year of the NFL, and I think this is kind of a good thing for NFL players when they can say, hey, this is my final year. This is what I'm going to do. Ride with me, right? When we think of, quote, the final ride on a lot of people, Jerome Bettis comes to mind. I don't think he announced it beginning of the year, but I think he announced it when the Pittsburgh Steelers made the playoffs, right? He he said, hey, guys, this is my last ride. Let's make it memorable. Let's get to the top. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers did ultimately what they were 16, I think. They rattled off wins in wild card division championship game, made it to the Super Bowl, ultimately won the Super Bowl. So the question's out there. Is it a good thing to put a time limit on the rest of your career? Is it a bad thing to put a time limit on the end of your career? But if you guys are just joining us here, Brandon Graham said this is his final year of the NFL or of his NFL career. So hopefully he ends out on tops and comes out healthy. Speaking of final years, Michael Gallup 6-year wide receiver. Many times with the Dallas Cowboys. The last 6 years were with the Dallas Cowboys, but this season he went to the Las Vegas Raiders, said, hey, let's make a run. And Michael Gallup's like, nope. Sorry, Raider fans. I'm done. Sorry, Raider fans. I don't want you guys no more. Michael Gallup has officially announced his retirement today from the NFL, sparring his little brief tenure with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I had every anticipation of sitting here dogging the Las Vegas Raiders organization. I had every intention of sitting here saying, hey, Michael Gallup is a top receiver in the NFL. He could have gone to probably 15 or 17 teams in the NFL and been the number one receiver. Carolina, New England, Denver, LA, the list goes on. He was a top receiver, I feel, in the NFL for a pretty long time. I'm not saying top 10, but he was a good, solid number 2 guy on the Dallas Cowboys for many, many, many years. What's up, Mark D? So when I look at Michael Gallup's career, 6 years in the NFL, he called it quits. Usually, when players call it quits, it is not because their ability is slacking. It is not because they don't want to play on Sundays. It is not because they don't think that they can still put up the numbers and the production, right? It's usually beyond that, right? The mental preparation between Tuesdays and Saturdays is just tough. The wear and tear on the body, the mental strain, the studying, the consistent traveling across the world, right? The consistency of missing of your family. So I wanted to jump on here and I wanted to dog the Las Vegas Raiders organization for sucking the fun out of life. But Michael Gallup, I have to respect your decision because there have been players out there that have beaten themselves up when their heart really isn't, right? Barry Sanders, right? His final year, he's like, I'm done. Prime of his career, he gone, right? There are many times when players hang on a little too long, and Michael Gallup maybe saved himself from embarrassment from getting cut from the Las Vegas Raiders because his heart's not in it, because his mindset's not in it. Darren Waller just retired, a few weeks ago, right? Who was the receiver for the Buffalo Bills that retired right before the season started? We're like, what? That's kind of weird. I mean, players do it all the time, so we have to respect the concept. Like, this is the time of year where if you have 1 foot out, you might as well just hang it up. Hang it up. Derek's in the chat. What's up, Derek? He says, I think it's a personal decision for him and his family. The travel, the intensity, and the body has to match. I think he's good from the outside looking in. Yes, and I agree, Derek. I think Michael Gallup is a really, really good receiver. But we have to understand there's the mental strain of an NFL season or a season in general. Baseball, football, basketball, soccer. The strain on your body and mindset through any type of season, it is tough. Right now, in my high school, we are going through the dog days of summer. Let's just be honest. We have been at it for about 3 weeks now. We're getting a little banged up. We're getting tired of hitting each other. It's 100 degrees outside. Tensions are getting a little short fused. Fights are starting to break out. But there's just sometimes you just right. But Michael Gallup has officially retired from the NFL. And speaking of retirement, WB Ant is no longer retired. He is back here as the everydayer right here at NFL Talk. Man Hour NFL Talk, guys. So we are live every Monday through Friday, 2:30 East Coast time. Be sure to join us anytime you guys chance. Of course, we got clips. Every 3 hours, we upload the clips. We got the forums as well, so go over there and talk your shit if you want to. Speaking of talking shit, Mr. Tyreek Hill. Mr. Tyreek Hill was asked about his 2,000-yard goal from last season. Mr. Tyreek Hill last season said, I'm going to go for 2,000 yards. I'm going to get 2,000 yards and I'm going to break the record. This year, he has a different mindset. This year, he's like, it will be selfish of me, selfish, that's it, right? Selfish of me to go for 2,000 yards. It'll be selfish of me to be worried about the individual stat. It'll be selfish of me to worry about me, when we have an ultimate big goal, as in winning the championship. Obviously, Tyreek Hill, guys, was very, very close of breaking the 2,000-yard mark last season. I think he ended up with 1,700 yards off the top of my head, but he missed a couple games. If he would have played all 17 games, he would have very easily have broken the record. So for everybody in the chat, simple yes or no question. Does Tyreek Hill, break the 2,000-yard mark this season? And if he does break the 2,000 mark this season, do you have to put an asterisk by it? Do you have to put an asterisk by it because of the 17-game season? Obviously, nobody has ever done that in the NFL. It's been close. A couple 1,900-yard seasons, right? Calvin Johnson, I believe, is the highest one. I should have checked that before I jumped on, but I think Calvin Johnson is the one that holds the record for the most yardage in the season. But does he break the 2,000-yard mark? Let me know. Let me know. But guys, that is enough bantering back and forth about news that's going across the NFL. That is enough bantering about 2,000 yards and retirement and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It is time to talk about the Houston Texans. That's right, the Houston Texans, guys. Before we move on to 2024, we have to talk about 2023. 2023, the Houston Texans kind of, quote, shocked the world, right? They had a rookie quarterback in C.J. Stroud. They had a rookie head coach and D'Amico Ryans. And the Houston Texans weren't really slated to do anything at all, right? They even started out the season pretty sluggish with losses over to the Ravens and then the Colts. And then they started to rattle off some wins. They started to get hot. Wins over Jacksonville and Pittsburgh, the Saints, wins over the Bucks, Bengals, and Cardinals. And the list just keeps going on. They laddered off a lot of wins. C.J. Stroud looked like a very, very polished professional quarterback. I don't think he threw his first interception like week 13. And it's not like he was nickel and diming down the field. They were pushing the ball down the field. He had a 300-yard game. He had 250-yard games. Hell, he almost had a 400-yard game versus the Indianapolis Colts. Let's just be honest. The Houston Texans, guys, kind of came out of nowhere and kind of shocked the world. They shocked the world because week 18, the Indianapolis Colts running back dropped a gimme pass for the Colts for the chance to win the game. And ultimately, they won that game, and the Houston Texans finished the season 10-7, getting into the wild card game, playing the mighty, mighty Cleveland Browns in the wild card game, destroying Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns, and ultimately losing to the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round. This offseason, they had a pretty good offseason. Let's just be honest. They added pieces like Joe Mixon. They just picked up Cam Akers. They traded for Stephon Diggs, which is now on a career or on a contract year. They combined his last 3 years of his contract, gave him all the money, said, hey, this is your prove-it year, man. Prove it to us. Also picked up Danielle Hunter. Guys, the Houston Texans added all the right pieces this offseason. The Houston Texans got better on the offense by age and experience. The Houston Texans got better in the front office by hiring a coach like D'Amico Ryans, right? The Houston Texans, guys, are arguably in the conversation for AFC Championship, Super Bowl, winning the South. That argument is right there week after week, day after day on many of the platforms that I follow and listen to. But I got to say it here first. The Houston Texans, guys, are going to take a couple of steps back this season. The Houston Texans are not only going to take a couple setbacks this season, they're going to digress, the whole team as a whole. I'm not saying that they're a bad team. I'm not saying that they're not well coached. I'm not saying CJ Stroud's a bust. I'm not saying Stephon Diggs is a cancer in the locker room. I'm not saying all that. I'm actually saying they got better on every aspect of the ball, but their schedule this season is tough. The Houston Texans arguably have one of the hardest schedules in the 2024 NFL season. They play the Ravens. They play the Chiefs. They play the Titans, right? They play the Buffalo Bills. They play the Miami Dolphins. They have a very, very tough schedule. They have a tough schedule. And we're going to break down each and every game for you guys right here, right now. But first, we got to talk to my man, WB Ant. He says, Odell will get 30 to 40 catches, so I agree he won't reach the 2,000 yards. James Chambers in the chat. Speaking of everydayers, James isn't here. He says, I think Waddle gets more catches this year and will cause Hill not to reach 2,000 yards in 17 games. Very, very true. Casey also says, I read something where Hill averages one kid per every 800 yards. I shared that on our Facebook page. And my wife wasn't very happy about it. But it is what it is. But let's talk about some Houston Texans guy. Get that off there. Week number 1. A game that I have circled on my calendar. This Sunday afternoon game, I am pretty excited to watch this game. I'm actually thinking about getting tickets to go to this game. Houston Texans season tickets are sold out, but this game's at Indy. Their tickets are sold out as well. It's going to be tough to get a ticket to this game because I think this game ultimately might decide the division. But Buck, it's week 1. There's so much more to play. I get it. But when you start a division game week 1, 2 of the top teams in the AFC South battling, this game could decide the division right off the bat. Right off the bat, I've seen Texans practice the last 4 or 5 days. The defense looks pretty good. The defense looks flying around. The defense is having fun. The scheme looks really, really good. Danielle Hunter seems like an excellent fit for the Houston Texans right now. Offense has seemed a little sluggish. Granted, they do have Joe Mixon out. Tank Dell hasn't really played. John Mechie is still kind of in and out, right? I do think the Texans defense will step up, average 24, 25 points a game. I think the defense will be a top 15 defense in the NFL. But week number 1, Houston Texans lose to the Indianapolis Colts week 1. Anthony Richards is a really good athlete. Really, really, really good. The Colts look damn near unstoppable with him in the game for 3 games last season. I think the Colts get the better of the Houston Texans come week 1, and this just might decide the division. I understand it's week 1. I get it. I get it. But this game might decide the division. James says this game definitely sets a tone for the AFC South right off the rip. And especially since this is the only AFC South division we see in like until week 9, I think it is, and the Colts and Texans play again, and then you have a bunch of games toward the very end. Like I'm not going to get into the schedule how I hate it too much, but yeah, definitely must see TV. And Ant says it best. Stroud versus AR is must-see TV. Think about this, guys. Wrap this around your head. The veteran in the AFC South in the quarterback room is Trevor Lawrence. And he's going, in his 5th year? Like, the AFC South, guys, has an opportunity to be good for a very, very long time. Texans and Colts aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Jaguars could potentially get better. The Titans are up and coming. We talked about them yesterday. They're a 10-win team. The AFC South is really, really, really good, guys. And yes, CJ Stroud and AR is going to be must-see TV for the next 10 years, right? They're going to be good. James says, I like the pick. Texans are going to need a couple games to work out the kinks on all their new pieces. This is facts. This is 100% facts. But lucky for them, they play a team in the Chicago Bears at home in week 2. Now, I have spoke highly of the Chicago Bears. I said they're going to be competitive in every game this season. However, I only have them winning 6 games this season, 7 tops. I don't think the Bears' record is going to reflect of how actually good and actually how talented they are on the offense or on the team in general. But the Houston Texans, they start working out the kinks, right? The offense starts looking really high-powered. Stephon Diggs is starting to eat. Michi is getting his right. Tank Dell is starting to find his spot as a number 2, number 3 receiver in this offense. Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce is really starting to get that nice 1-2 punch going. Week number 2, I think the Texans get their first win of the season. It's a good game. It's a 21-17, 24-21 type of score. It's a one-score game, but the Houston Texans come out on top in this week 2, giving them first win of the season. Moving us on to week number 3. Week number 3. Houston Texans travel to Minneapolis to take on the Vikings and Sam Darnold. Now, I have heard rumblings between my Vikings insider group that I'm in. So, guys, I have a lot of insiders that are, I guess, credentialed people that go to these practices and inside the locker room. So they hear a lot of things, and I'm not for sure if they can report it or not. But I asked them, hey, how does Sam Darnold look at camp? And they said Sam Darnold looks terrible. They said Sam Darnold acts like he doesn't want to be there. They said J.J. McCarthy's on this cloud 9, and they would not shock them one bit if J.J. McCarthy does take the starting position. Now, if Sam Darnold starts week 3 for the Minnesota Vikings versus the Houston Texans, the Texans are going to walk all over the Minnesota Vikings. Hell, let's just be honest. If J.J. McCarthy starts week 3 for the Minnesota Vikings, the Houston Texans are going to walk all over the Minnesota Vikings. Danielle Hunter wants to get his old team. Danielle Hunter wants to embarrass the Minnesota Vikings play after play, drive after drive, quarter after quarter. This is going to be a long game for the Minnesota Vikings. Let's just be flat and honest. It's going to be a long game, and the Houston Texans get their second win of the season, back-to-back wins going into week 4. Now, we talked about week 1, how this could potentially be the deciding factor of the AFC South, the Colts versus the Texans, right? This week 4 game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, this game is very intriguing to me because when we spoke about the Jaguars a couple of days ago, Monday, right? I told you guys that I don't like them. I don't like what they did this offseason. I don't like their stadium. I don't like their owner. I don't like nothing about the Jacksonville Jaguars this season. But somehow, some way, they always seem to win in Houston. They always seem to kind of come in and spoil a homecoming, spoil a good game for the Houston Texans. The Texans right now are on a 2-game winning streak, obviously over the Vikings and the Bears. Looking like a really good team. Offense is gelling. Stephon Diggs is eating. The whole team is eating. Defense is playing lights out. And it doesn't stop week 4. They continue into the drama, into week 4, smacking the Jacksonville Jaguars around, giving them the 3rd win of the season, giving us into week 5. Week 5. Test game. A measuring stick game, as some people like to call it. Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen come into NRG Stadium to take on the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud. Potentially an AFC Championship preview. A potential winner-take-all. This game could potentially be for the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. Buffalo Bills did trade Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans this season. Stephon Diggs, I feel, kind of wanted out of Buffalo for a while. Finally got his wish. Stephon Diggs gets his bread in this game. Stephon Diggs earns his $25 million that he's getting paid this season in this game. Stephon Diggs goes off in week 5 for 5 tutties. Stephon Diggs is probably going to be untouched from from the day this snap starts to the very final whistle. He's going to be untouched, running up and down the field. Give the man the ball in this week 5 game over and over and over again. The Houston Texans not only beat the Buffalo Bills week 5, they dominate the Buffalo Bills week 5. The Buffalo Bills are kind of like acting like the way they played the Dallas Cowboys last season. Anything they could do, they could not do wrong. That's how the Houston Texans will look against the Buffalo Bills week 5. 4-game winning streak at this particular point. Week number 6, riding sky high. Wins off the Jaguars and Buffalo Bills and the Vikings and the Bears back-to-back weeks. Let's travel to Massachusetts. Foxborough, Massachusetts, take on the New England Patriots, Jacoby Brissett. We talked about yesterday how potentially Drake May could start for the New England Patriots week 1. If that were to happen, the New England Patriots have no shot in this game. If Drake May starts for the New England Patriots week 6, give me the Houston Texans plus 50. They're going to run all over the Patriots. But Jacoby Brissett gives a whole new dynamic to the New England Patriots. Jacoby Brissett is the type of player that is not going to wow you by stats. He's not going to lose you a game. He's not going to win you a game. But he's going to be a nice, solid quarterback. He's going to be a nice game-managing quarterback in this game. The Patriots' defense is not bad. Running back's not bad. The rest of the team kind of sucks. And that's exactly where the Houston Texans win this game. Their front 4 wins this game for them in this week 6 game, giving them a 5-game winning streak. Danielle Hunter could get a couple sacks in this game. Danielle Hunter is a type of player that doesn't wow you with stats either, right? You know, he is like he doesn't make a lot of huge plays, but when you look at him at the end of the day, you're like, damn, this guy had 12 tackles, 2 sacks. I don't remember any of that. But right now, I got the Houston Texans on a 5-game winning streak. They go into Foxborough and they beat the New England Patriots. And right now, like my man says, it's Houston all day, baby. It's Houston all day, baby. But slow it down. Pump the brakes. Add it up. Simmer plus down plus now equals simmer down now. And that's what the Houston Texans fan base needs to do right now. Yes, I do understand the Houston Texans right now are 5-1. Yes, I do understand right now the Houston Texans look unstoppable. Yes, I understand right now that defense can't. Nobody can move the ball on the defense right now. I get it. But Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers are a different breed this season. Jordan Love is going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL in the next few days. We're going to be talking about it, I'm sure, probably by Monday of next week. We're going to see him $57 million deal. We're going to see it. But the Green Bay Packers rain on the Houston Texans parade. Rain on the parade. Houston Texans have been clicking 5 games in a row. Wins over the Bears, the Vikings, the Jaguars, the Buffalo Bills, and the Patriots. But Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers put a rain on that parade. The Green Bay Packers win at home, stopping the Houston Texans winning streak. James Frank is an everydayer as well. He says CJ Stroud is him. He knows this year is going to be hard. That boy will put in the work. His coach knows too well. Listen, I'm not saying CJ Stroud is not going to put in the work. I'm not saying that the Houston Texans as a whole is not going to put in the work. But their tough schedule is tough, baby. Lose to the Packers. Week number 8. Back at home. Fresh off the second loss of the season. Indianapolis Colts come into town. Flashback to week 1. Great game. Colts come out on top. Week number 8, I think, is a different story. Week number 8, we see a ground and pound game. We arguably have 2 top 10 running backs in this game, in Jonathan Taylor and Joe Mixon. I feel this is the type of game that we're going to see a lot of rushing yards. Not because the passing games are just not very good, just because the running games are just going to go off in this game. You hear it all the time. When other receivers, other quarterbacks play against somebody that is equal or superior to their level, they want to step up and they want to show out. Joe Mixon wants to step up and show out that he's better than JT. JT wants to step up and show out that he's better than Joe Mixon. We want to see it. They want to see it. I think week 8, the Houston Texans come out on top, splitting the series with the Colts this season. Week number 9. Thursday Night Football. CJ Stroud versus Aaron Rodgers in the big not-so-apple in New Jersey. What? Right? Houston Texans are still kind of... They were on a roll. They were hot. We've been talking about them a lot. ESPN, CBS, Fox, NBC, Man Hour, Luke G, whoever you want to listen to, Wayne G on the NFL experts with Mark. They'll be talking a lot of Houston Texans. And I'm not for sure the Houston Texans are ready for that spotlight. I'm not for sure if the Houston Texans are ready for that additional pressure. I'm not for sure if the Houston Texans are ready to be to be them. Week number 9, Thursday Night Football shows it. They go into MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, and they shit the bed versus the Jets. They shit the bed versus the Jets. They just kind of just forget to show up. Whether they're tired, whether they're kind of maybe overlooking the Jets. For some reason, I just think they forget to show up in this game, and the Jets give them their 3rd loss on the season. Then week number 10 rolls around. Fresh off of a mini bye week. The Detroit Lions are probably fresh off with loss as well, if not 2 in a row at this particular point. Many people are probably hyping this game up as a potential Super Bowl matchup. Many people are hyping this game up as, hey, the winner of this game wins the Super Bowl. What I got to say to that? Slow it down, baby. Slow it down. Pump those brakes. But this is the keys to the ignition. Hot and fresh out the kitchen. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But the Houston Texans bounced back off of an embarrassing loss to the New York Jets, and they beat the Detroit Lions. CJ Stroud steps up, and all of a sudden we're talking to him about MVP. All of a sudden we are talking about comeback player. Every award is coming to the Houston Texans after they beat the Detroit Lions in this Week 10 game. Because they look that dominant. They look that good. A mini bye week is what the team needed, right? To kind of get right. They got a week, 14 bye? It's tough. It's hard out here for a pimp. Houston Texans beat the Detroit Lions. James says, nope. Detroit Lions win. Flashback to the Jets game. WBN says, if the Rodgers isn't playing, Texans wins. But if Rodgers is playing, look out, baby. Look out. But I do think the Houston Texans bounce back from the Jets win and beat the Detroit Lions. And then we got the Battle of the Lone Star State. On Monday Night Football, You have the Houston Texans traveling to the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, to take on Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. This game, going to be a lot of eyes on it, right? Going to be a lot of eyes on this particular game. Dallas Cowboys always start the first half of the season super hot. Houston Texans were super hot at some point. They kind of simmered down right now, but they're kind of back up on the train up, right? Kind of back up on the train up. My man Jim Powell is in the chat. Pigskin pundit himself says CJ Stroud is him. Is he though? Because the Dallas Cowboys are going to smack the little boys of the big state of Texas, the big country of Texas, as they like to say. And the Dallas Cowboys walk all over the Houston Texans on Monday Night Football. Travion Diggs, a couple pick sixes. Sorry, CJ Stroud. It's time for you to get your initiation. Diggs takes you to the pick six. Zeke Elliott. We're going to see flashes of old Zeke Elliott. He wants to show up and show Joe Mixon, hey, I'm still him, brother. Dak Prescott, top 3 quarterback in the NFL himself, shows it why in this game. Going to put up those stats yards, 400 patties, 400 passing yards, three or four tutties. Zeke finds the end zone. Houston Texans are like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Jim Powell says CJ smokes Dak's replacement. As in Trey Lance. Not going to happen. James Frank says Texans beat the Dallas Cowboys at home by a field goal. Okay. If you are a script writer, I like it. Monday Night Football, make you tune in to the very end. Catch those commercials. And James thinks whoever has the ball last wins the game. He thinks it's going to be a shootout. I think week 11, the Dallas Cowboys embarrassed the Houston Texans, put out the blueprint to beat them, and this is where the wheels fall off the wagon for the Houston Texans. Week number 4, Tennessee Titans come into town. A much improved, a really underrated Tennessee Titans. They come in and they embarrass the Houston Texans. The blueprint is out there. The Tennessee Titans follow it to a T, and they beat the Houston Texans. 12-13 points. 2-game losing streak. 2-game losing streak. Man, they need a bye week, and they need it quick. Well, guess what? Week 13 isn't a bye week either. Probably some nicks and aches and pains are starting to add up. Man, we got to play another division team. Florida sucks to play in. Jacksonville Jaguars, newly highest paid quarterback in the NFL, Trevor Lawrence, finally gets a dub. Houston Texans lose 3 games in a row. After starting sky high to the moon, baby, they have come crashing back down. They have said, oh, we are an average team. Now, they're still a good team. They're still a good team. Very, very deep. Very, very skilled. But their schedule's tough. Week 14 bye week is a blessing and a curse all at the same time. The blessing is you only have, 5 games till the playoffs. Right? The curse is we just played 13 games in a row and we needed a bye week about 2 weeks ago. They're tired. They're wore out. Bye week is needed. Collect their thoughts. Get back on track. Because you're going to need to get back on track because week 15, the Miami Dolphins and Tua come into town. If you talk to my man Arthur Brown, this is an AFC Championship preview. If you talk to a more realistic fan, this is a potential wild card preview. If this game was in Miami, it would be Miami Dolphins all day, every day. But this game is in Houston. Granted, it is inside in a dome, but the Houston Texans are going to come back. They're going to bounce back Fresh off of a bye week, fresh off a 3-game losing streak, they bounce back and they beat the Miami Dolphins at the Week 15 game. They bounce back and they battle them. It's a close game. It could potentially be a shootout. Houston Texans are built to win a shootout, and I think they win this game. James Chamberlain says, my Dolphins going to light them Texans up, baby. And James Frank says, damn, there's a lot of Jameses here. Hey, I appreciate you guys. All you everydayers, I appreciate y'all. Appreciate it. Especially my man Casey. Casey, yesterday, right after the show was over, he's like, hey, Amari Cooper just got signed to the Bills, yo. Nice little discussion. Shout out to Casey. Week 16. Houston Texans think they're top dogs again. The Houston Texans think that, hey, we've beaten the Dolphins, we've beaten the Bills, we've beaten the Detroit Lions. Put us up there with those conversations. And Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs like, not so fast, my friend. Nah. You're coming into Arrowhead in December thinking you can upset us, thinking you can beat us. Who do you think you are, the Las Vegas Raiders? Not going to happen. Houston Texans drop an egg to the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs are them right now. They're that damn good. Week 17. Baltimore Ravens come into town. Baltimore Ravens come into town. Last season, Houston Texans lost twice to the Baltimore Ravens. One to begin the season, one to end the season. The Baltimore Ravens right now are probably in a position where they're basically battling for the first overall seed. The Baltimore Ravens probably got the AFC North locked up. The Baltimore Ravens really aren't playing for a whole lot. You're going to probably see a vanilla defense, a vanilla offense. Hell, Lamar Jackson may not even play this game. Let's just be honest. But I think the Houston Texans beat the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if this was a playoff game, Houston or Baltimore all day. Baltimore is better in every aspect on the field versus the Houston Texans. But Texans are at home. Texans are right now are battling for a playoff spot, a potential AFC North spot. They have everything to play for, everything to lose. The Baltimore Ravens just basically have everything to things to lose. Injuries to Derrick Henry, injuries to Lamar Jackson. Houston Texans come out on top. That gives me a 9-8 record going into week 18. Gives me a 9-8 record going into week 18. We potentially have a 3-way tie in the AFC South going into week 18. Tie between the Titans, Colts, and Texans. All sitting at 9 wins right now. All sitting at 9 wins, battling for the division, battling for a playoff spot, and the Houston Texans, all they got to do is beat the Tennessee Titans in Nashville week 18. Guys, I have been high on the Tennessee Titans all offseason. I like the coaching changes. I like the naming Will Levis the starting quarterback. I like their adding Snead there. I like the addition of Calvin Ridley. Houston Texans also did really well this offseason. Stephon Diggs, Daniel Hunter, Joe Mixon. Also added a linebacker. Can't think of his name right now. But I think the Tennessee Titans ultimately sweep the Houston Texans in this division, giving the Houston Texans a Week 18 loss for a total record of 9-8. I think the Houston Texans take a couple steps back this season, not because they're a worse team, because their schedule sucks. Look at their schedule, guys, especially the back half of it. After the bye week, Dolphins, Chiefs, Ravens, Titans. Is there any harder stretch of the NFL right now than those last 4 games of the season? Besides, I guess Steelers got a pretty tough schedule the last half. But when you get a first place division when you're not ready for, you get a schedule like this. You get a schedule that is tough. So I think the Houston Texans dropped from 10 wins last season down to 9 wins, ultimately giving them a 9-8 record on the season. Let me know what you guys think. Am I spot on? Am I wrong? Am I 100% right? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. I'll post it on facebook.com/manhour. As soon as the show is over, we can have a discussion about it. But let me get to some of these comments that I missed. James Frank says, I don't like the contract, but at least he's playing in the land another year. Talking about Amari Cooper. Basically so I looked into Amari Cooper's contract. Thanks to Casey, I had no idea it was happening until after the show. I read about it. Basically, what is happening is he got a $5 million raise, right? Or a opportunity to make $5 extra million this season with incentives, right? Catches, yards, etc. But that $20 million he is owed is now all guaranteed money. So instead of all being, I think it was like a $10 million base that like he had, that $20 million is now guaranteed money. He got a dollar bills, y'all, with an opportunity to make $5 extra million a season. Still a unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. So, like it or hate it, basically he got a $5 million raise, and that's about it. So we'll see what happens for Amari Cooper and the Cleveland Browns at the end of the 2024 NFL season. See if he signs another big deal, maybe a couple prove-it-year deals. I mean, he's got to be getting older, right? I think he still has some left in the tank. Probably not a number one guy by any stretch of the imagination, but still got some left in him. James says, where's Cleveland getting all this money for guaranteed contracts? So that's the great thing about having a great financial advisor, right, James? So a lot of Deshaun Watson's money was signing bonus up front, right? A lot of it was like first year, hey, here's $180 million guaranteed money signing bonus. If I remember correctly, Deshaun Watson falls off the books at the end of this season. So basically, he's in a roundabout way playing for free. Yes, he has all that guaranteed money that he got paid, but now he's just paying for free, basically, and it's not against the salary cap. So a smart general manager or whoever makes the contracts, right? They are starting to learn to make these into guaranteed contracts, i.e. signing bonuses or backloaded contracts, right? When we look at Patrick Mahomes, when he signed that 10-year, $500 million deal, right? Sounds like a lot of money, right? Sounds like, man, they're going to break the bank. But the first 3 or 4 years of that contract, he was making still only like $12 million a season. I say only. He was making very much less of his $50 million that averaged out. A lot of Patrick Mahomes' contract is backloaded. So years 7, 8, or it'd be 8, 9, 10, that's when he was really going to make a lot of his money. But as you see now, the Chiefs are still kind of just kicking the can down the road. They extended him for an extra 2 years or whatever it was. So that big cap hit kind of got kicked down the road a little bit. That's how the Chiefs can sign Chris Jones and sign the next big wide receiver and give Travis Kelce his money, kind of kick the can down the road. Cleveland is kind of the same way. WB Ant says Chiefs will lose this game where they realized that Snead was very important to that defense. Meaning, what was it, the week 16 game? Texans versus Chiefs. So obviously, guys, the Chiefs have had a top 10 defense the last couple seasons. Now, last year, 2023, they had a top 5 defense all season long. Years prior, defense didn't really come on until about week 9, week 10, and then they got hot, and then they kind of carried on. Jarius Snead was a very big part of the Kansas City Chiefs defense last season, or the last 3 seasons, actually. But the Kansas City Chiefs have drafted very, very well, Ant. The Kansas City Chiefs have really built depth on their team very, very well. Just like when we lost Tyreek Hill a couple years ago. People were like, oh, you guys don't want to be shit without him, yada, yada, yada. They go out and win the Super Bowl. Addition by subtraction for the Kansas City Chiefs is a very, very good thing. Josh Williams and Trent McDuffie are really going to have to step up this season for the Kansas City Chiefs. Really going to have to step up. But secondary is a big question mark. I'm not going to try to front. I'm not going to try to front. It is a very, very big question. He also says the Titans wide receiver core is very underrated. D-Hop, Ridley, and Boyd. Let's not forget about Burks as well, right? The Tennessee Titans, guys, once they added Ridley and added Tony Pollard and L'Jarius Sneed to that team, they got a hell of a lot better. Hell of a lot better. Also naming a quarterback like Will Levis, bringing in a offensive-minded head coach and Brian Callahan, getting out pretty much everything old, right? Derrick Henry, yes, we loved you in Tennessee, but it's time for a new regime. We're no longer going to be a pound it down your throat type of team. That's why they fired their head coach, forgetting his name right now. That's why they decided to let Derrick Henry basically get traded / walk. The Tennessee Titans guys are going to be a high-powered offense this season, and they still got a pretty good defense. We need to stop sleeping on the Tennessee Titans right now because the Tennessee Titans are potentially going to win the AFC South. Potentially. Mike Vrabel. Thank you, James. Mike Vrabel is his name. Now, right now, we have the Houston Texans at 9 wins. And we got the Tennessee Titans at 10 wins. Can the Indianapolis Colts get 11 wins? Who knows? But right now, if you guys have been following along, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right now the Titans are on top of the AFC South. But that's going to be it for today's show, guys. We are going to break down the Indianapolis Colts tomorrow and then do a full recap of the AFC the AFC South on Friday. So if you got any birdie questions that you just want answered, you need something to fuel your thing, let me know. Let me know. But that is it for today, guys. Until next time, tomorrow, 2:30 East Coast time, we out.